Hey everybody, welcome to the Marquez Says Show. I'm your host, Marquez Mosier, and this is my co-host, cohort, and eldest son, Austin Jordan. He and I always seem to bring out the feisty side of each other, and it leads to some very spirited conversations. There's never really any one topic. We see the world from many different perspectives, and sometimes we agree, and sometimes we don't. Either way, it gets very interesting, so sit back, relax, and have a bit of fun at our expense as we explore some of the most unexpected perspectives you'll ever hear about the world we live in. So, let's get started.
It's not. We're gonna have to walk back in.
That's okay.
Or so we're just gonna start it like this, sitting down?
Yeah. No, we're gonna run with this.
Oh, okay. We're gonna keep this in the video?
Yeah.
This is totally against format.
Welcome to the Marquez Says Show.
There we go.
I'm Marquez. This is my co-host, cohort, and cuts himself while shaving right before the show.
Howdy.
Austin Jordan. So, we were arguing about sports and stuff like that. We're not going to go into that for the show today. We'll maybe save it for another one. But we're talking about
Lakers, champions.
We could talk about different eras and all that good stuff. So, but how's it been, Austin? How you doing?
Pretty bad.
Yeah?
Life sucks.
Yeah?
Everything's awful. And it will never get better.
I'm sorry, did you say something? Because I was actually looking at my phone.
See, we know that's not true for anybody watching at home. This will be the only time I encourage you to watch our YouTube link.
What? Oh, no, oh yeah.
Because you can listen.
You know why? Because you definitely want to see us cut.
It's sexy. It's manly. It's masculine.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, you know, that brings me up.
What?
We're just this is kind of a random episode, to be honest with you guys. Did you see where I think it was Kiki Hernandez, and he was getting it? It was back in 2017. He's an LA Dodger player.
Okay.
He's not short, but he was being interviewed by a really tall reporter. So he stood on a bucket, and it was going around making the rounds on social media, and it's flared up again today or recently about how that's fragile masculinity. The problem is that he did it as a joke. She was in on it. It was not fragile masculinity. He's a jokester. He actually does all sorts of crazy things, and she was totally in on it because they were talking about how, you know, she's much taller. She's like 6'1" or 6'2", and then she wears heels or whatever the case is. So it was just and people were getting all on him, and of course talking about fragile masculinity, and I just was kind of like it was.
That's kind of messed up. I take issue with that in the first place because it's like, why would that be fragile masculinity? Like,
because he didn't want to be shown up by her, literally, you know, stood up.
Well, how are you? Who are you to say that that's what he was thinking, though?
Right, and that was
who are you to tell him that was how he was feeling about the situation?
Yeah, he could have actually been. I mean, even if he was insecure, okay, he took steps to fix that. Now, would you have done it? Maybe not. I don't mean you. I mean, would someone else done it differently, or would they have just let her tower over them? Maybe. But you know what? Even if he did do it because he felt insecure, what was so wrong about that?
Yeah, and this is the two-sided part of this that really irritates me is we promote, or society promotes, a culture of, well, you know, it's okay, we're not going to shame you for your insecurities, we're going to help you, blah, 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 blah. Yet the very first thing that people were to do was to jump on the insecurity and be like, well, you have fragile masculinity, and instead of being like, oh, well, you know, you really didn't have to do that because it wasn't, you know, that important height difference, who cares?
Yeah.
And in fact, the people calling out the fragile masculinity are the people who are really the ones with the issue. Yeah, they're the one looking at it in that lens in the first place.
And what's the first part, that's actually a great angle on that. But more so to like what I was thinking is literally the part about you took it out of, I mean, not even took it out of context. You did no research.
That's true.
You just took one person, and you took one person's post that said, oh, your definition of fragile masculinity or whatever it was, and then that started to spread in like wildfire, and it was all over about how that wasn't the case. It was a joke. They were both in on it. She knew it. She even mentioned it. She did a follow-up saying, guys, this wasn't fragile masculinity. He's a jokester and stuff like that. And people who know him and like in the Dodgers and stuff, because he's kind of known for being a goofball, that was the whole point. It was just fun because it was kind of like, okay, she towers over me, so how can I fix that? Oh, I'll grab a bucket. I'll stand on a bucket. That'll be funny. And it was just kind of disappointing to see that going around, and I was kind of thinking, so what, have we moved off of toxic masculinity because that one really kind of died out, so now we're trying to flame up fragile masculinity? I'm like, how many different masculinities are we going to try to tie into being negative?
All of it. I have feelings about this kind of stuff, but I don't want to say, because some of my feelings about it make a whole lot of sense to me, but I feel like people would get mad at me for saying it.
Well, you said some of them on our other episode. If you want to catch the other episode, we did one about masculinity.
I believe right now we're in an era, especially because everybody's been inside and everybody's been consuming most of their human interactions through social media, which is an inherently relatively toxic place. So whether it be Twitter, Instagram, or whatever.
Okay, I'll just hold on and say I wouldn't necessarily use the word toxic, but it's certainly dangerous.
Well, that's a good thing I'm using it. So toxic place or dangerous, we can change it to dangerous.
Well, I just mean that toxic already indicates that no matter what, it's going to be bad.
Right.
And that's not true. No matter what, it's not going to be bad. But it is dangerous because you can be.
That's fine. We can use dangerous.
That's all.
The point being, though, is when people are sharing their experiences and their stories and all this stuff on these mediums, they're not generally positive. So we're seeing all this sort of stuff, and everybody's getting all these stories of, oh, well, I went on this horrible first date, or this internet date, or I was never called back, I was ghosted.
Yeah.
All this stuff, and that's the only stuff we're hearing. But think about the way that we're consuming things right now. Is this necessarily a culture in which we really want to be getting to know all these other people and all this stuff? And the people that we are going to get to know probably aren't going to be that great. It's just you got to consider the timing of everything. So
I was going to say it's a bit unnatural in the sense that
right. So all these things are happening, and it's exposing a lot of really bad situations. But those bad situations are now becoming the new quote unquote normal. When I'm not entirely sure they're the new normal, I think that it's more exposed because everybody posts about their bad experiences.
Well, and that's always been the case with reviews, like review sites. I mean, you always hear that most of the time it's 70% negative and maybe 30% positive, if that, or I may even be generous.
Right. So
and you're right, social media is starting to become like that.
Exactly, and we're seeing it and we're internalizing that. And I think that masculinity is taking a big hit in that. Especially right now because of that, and because there are a lot of people taking advantage of situations and all this stuff and the accessibility, and then it's just, I think that's just kind of where we're at, and that's why when you said like fragile masculinity, toxic masculinity, I was like, all masculinity. Well, that's just kind of how it is right now.
And it's interesting. The last couple of days, I've started to do a response to someone who put something that was blatantly false, and I had the source and everything, and then I was just like, no, I'm gonna delete this. It's no, thank you.
It's not worth it.
It's just and it's funny because I'm from someone where I'm like I wholeheartedly believe in. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just trying to provide a perspective. I just saw a post actually that was really good about I give my thoughts I give my opinion away for free. If you want to understand if you want to understand how I came to that, that's when I'll charge you for like consulting. And you know what I mean? Right. I'm like, that's pretty good because you may just want to hear and listen to what I'm saying. But if you want to understand how I came to that, well, that's the part about where it could be coaching or consulting and stuff like that. It's interesting because one of the things that I was thinking of today is this post keeps coming around, and this one's kind of just rubs me the wrong way.
All right, let's read it.
It says, "Don't take criticism from people you would never go to for advice."
Oh yeah, I've heard that before. I hate that.
I'm sorry, but this is the type of thing that sets people in the wrong direction. On the surface, sounds legit. Makes sense, right? It sounds legit. Be positive. Don't listen to the haters. Blah blah blah, and all that. However terminology you want to switch it into. Okay. But what it does is it lacks the critical thinking that's necessary, because as soon as you say, if you break it down, don't take criticism from people you would never go to for advice. That's assuming that someone who criticizes you has no kernel of truth of something you could learn from.
Right, and even if what they say is wrong, it can trigger you into thinking something that is actually... Yeah, no, I hate that. And
it's very closed-minded. It's actually the opposite of what it's supposed to promote.
It is exactly the opposite. And what's funny? That kind of gets tied into the I don't take advice from people less successful than me. That's also an incredibly stupid ideology. I hate that. It is ridiculously dumb. Because let's say, and I'll use this, Kanye West said that. I mean, a bunch of people have said it, but I'll use him as an example, and I know for a fact he doesn't actually think this, or if he does, then he's a hypocrite. Because he has people around him that contribute to writing his songs or contribute to the building of ideas and all that. They don't have $5 billion net worths. Yeah. So you mean to tell me that you're not listening to those people?
Right.
It's really stupid.
Think about it from an artistic standpoint of the muse.
Right.
So you can't have a muse if you subscribe to that what you just said, because the muse is hardly going to ever be as successful as you.
Right, and I can always bring it back to an artist's point of view. Is let's say you have let's go with a band, right? You got the frontman of the band. Everybody knows the frontman. They might not know the bassist or the drummer or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're going to be influencing that frontman. Are they less successful? Well, where is that definition? And then it's really dumb.
Or just the songwriters in general.
Just, like what you said, critical thinking. Like, use your head. Like, okay, this person I would not normally listen to because I think they're stupid. But what they said, okay, that kind of makes sense. I can understand that. I can interpret that, and that could mean this to me. Instead of just being like, well, I'm never going to listen to you.
This is almost the opposite of like a clock is right twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
A broken clock is right twice a day. Okay, so there's something to be had. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So you can take from that, hey, there's something to be learned from everything. I've had this conversation with someone about it's in the presentation. Someone may be telling you something, might be telling you something wrong, might be telling you something right, depending on how they present it. Is exactly how. If you don't like the person or you don't like the way they present, they're rough, and all that kind of stuff. But what they say, if you try to think past critically, you might pick up a few kernels. Now, on the other hand, if you also critically look at it from a critical thought point of view, they may be saying crap. It may just be sounding good.
True.
But there's nothing there. There's actually no substance.
Yeah.
And this one was just one of those ones where I looked at it and went, everybody goes rah rah rah, absolutely, and just it kind of like you have to listen to anybody who gives you criticism. You don't have to take it to heart.
You don't have to value it.
You don't have to value it, but you do need to at least evaluate it and find out, is there something there that might be worthwhile?
Right.
And
I guess you don't have to, but it'd be beneficial to.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. Well, it depends on if you want to truly grow, then yes, take what your haters say and go, oh, you know what? They've actually got a point on that one. Now, 9 out of 10 of the things, no,
probably
they're wrong.
Not. Right.
But there could be 1/10 of one, and guess what? You're actually then going to get better because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just one of those ones. I'm glad that you did kind of recognize that because,
one more thing about that. You didn't tell me I'm bleeding again.
You're not.
I said I am. I felt.
Quit scratching it. Just let it. Literally, no. Stop touching it, Austin. Please.
Now it's all smeared.
No, just stop touching it. Just stop touching it.
I didn't. I felt it dripping.
No, you're not. You're blotting it, and that's what you're feeling.
Right,
let it clot up.
I didn't touch it before I felt it dripping. You guys get to witness. This is you guys are up there close and personal with us today.
How about this one? Don't stop until you're proud.
I don't even know what that means.
Don't stop until you're proud.
No, I know what the words mean individually.
But see, this is another one. Don't stop until you're proud. It's like, okay, so one of two ways. I'm proud of what I've accomplished. Do I stop now? Because it said, don't stop until you're proud. Well, now I'm proud.
It's just such an ambiguous... Like,
but these are things that are kind of like...
Do you keep... Well... I don't even want to talk about this one. This one is so, like...
That's fine.
What does it even mean?
This is what I mean. These are the things...
Look, if somehow anybody listens to this and this is your thing, I apologize. I'm sure that you probably had good intentions, but I would like... What does that mean? Don't stop until you're proud. I think I know what it's trying to convey. I think it's trying to say, like... if you're not feeling... like your work is done, if you don't feel like you did it to the best you could, then don't like stop working on it. But
I get it where it's basically don't stop until you're proud. The essence of it is that be proud of your work, whatever that is, that kind of thing. But by saying don't stop until you're proud, it intuitively says that once you feel that you're proud, you stop.
Well, what if you never feel proud? What if it's done? What if it's like it's great? What if it's amazing and it's like, but you don't feel proud?
You don't feel proud of it? Well, and that could be, and you're right. Actually, you know what? That could be like a personal issue. That could be a personal issue that you don't feel proud of it.
Personal issues.
Well, but I mean, it's literally an internal personal issue that you don't feel proud of it because you have somewhere deep down or somewhere along the line, feeling proud about something, feeling that pride is something that's very difficult. But what you've actually created is the new algorithm formula for decomposing plastic so that we can get the oceans clean. I mean.
And that was just off the top of the head, ladies and gentlemen.
But you know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, so, but you know what? That person, if they're not proud, they're going to keep going. They may make something better. But they also could drive themselves insane because of the fact that...
Yeah, that's the whole evil scientist thing right there. Are you promoting the growth of evil scientists?
Sure, why not?
No, not you, the person writing that quote. I'd like to know, are you encouraging more Frankensteins, like Dr. Frankenstein? Like, what is... I just move on. Next one.
How about keep going? Everything you need will come to you at the perfect time.
I feel like right now is the perfect time for $1 million. Right now.
See, again, a great motivational thing. Keep going. Don't give up. Okay, that one I like right there. But then to just turn around and then give you an excuse that everything you need will come to you at the perfect time. What? I mean, that's basically just saying, just keep going. You keep going. Don't give, or actually without the don't give up part, it's like just keep going. Eventually it'll happen. Well, shouldn't you maybe do something different if you're going along? Well, and I mean, it's kind of like keep going. Well, no, don't keep going. Keep making progress. Not just keep going. I mean, you got to make progress. Evaluate. You might need to do something differently. If you don't do that and you just keep going down your one trail,
right?
This
is right, and that goes back into my problem. And I've always vocally said, and this is why we kind of designed the show to be how it is because I'm vocally kind of disapproving of a lot of the whole self-help sort of scene. Yeah. Like that's kind of like a perfect encapsulation of that, though. Is like. What are you even saying? You might have gotten a high school diploma, and then after that was all you did, and you just kept living life and all that stuff, and then you decided this thought popped into your head one day, and you're like, oh, you know what? I've been through so much, and my life has been really hard, but I never quit. So you know what? What that means is, hey, just keep going. No, that's not what that means. That means you just kept making progress. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't know. But what do you what does that even mean? We don't have a choice, thank you very much, because unless we take our own lives, we all keep going.
Yeah.
There's
it's the simplicity of it that is what bothers me. And that's why, quite honestly, I think a lot of times that's why I am just not everyone's cup of tea, especially if they drink coffee. Haha.
Which I do.
Yeah, but the reality is
subliminal.
Okay.
This beef.
Whatever. Now you had too much coffee. That's the problem this morning. But that's the problem when I hear these other coaches and consultants and stuff, and some of them are great. They have such a good meaning, and they actually mean well. And then other ones are just playing on the rah cheerleading aspect of it. And I mean, and sometimes I'll call them out on it, and most of the time everybody just thinks that I'm quote unquote hating it. It's like, no, I am trying to provide a different perspective because y'all are just throwing out crap. You're throwing out this superficial, progress. The other one that just bugs the hell out of me: progress over perfection. No.
Right.
No. Things like that are just you are giving people a built-in crutch instead of holding them to a standard.
Okay, yeah, but do you know why? Because then it creates it's a returning customer.
Yeah. That's true.
Right. It's like,
I don't want you.
What are you going to do?
That's a good point.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? Okay. You feel like you're a better person now. Are you going to keep paying me? And the answer should be no, because if you do, then I didn't do my job very well.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, look, we want all the smoke. All you trash ass people out there doing your horrible self-help and life advice and all that stuff. We want all the smoke. All of it. You can come, you can tag us, you can do whatever you want. We will have this conversation. We'll have a fun conversation. It'll be good. Maybe we'll learn something. Maybe we're wrong.
Right, because we'll actually listen to our haters.
Right, exactly.
Because there might be something
and maybe
there.
You will too. We'll find out. But all the smoke. Let's do it.
I've had this conversation before with why I feel like I'm more of a consultant than a coach is because I talk to people or I present perspectives and solutions and then help them find the people that they can use to implement them, and then I'm gone. I believe in working myself out of a job. I believe in working myself out of a position or out of a contract because that's the point. That's how you're empowering them. And this goes back to an age-old saying about give a man a fish, eats for a day, teach a man to fish and he eats for a lifetime. That whatever.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you got the idea.
Exactly.
But that one,
Yeah.
and that one actually is something I can kind of get behind, because if you show somebody and explain to them what's going on, why it's needed, what to do and such, as opposed to doing it for them, it's totally different.
Right.
But if you only half it, it makes it sound, it makes it sound like, hey, here's half of it. This is kind of what you should do, but I'm not necessarily going to tell you or help you, encourage you to necessarily get there completely on your own, because like you said,
Right.
and that's just wrong. That's
I'm
just,
not even sure that some of these people that we're taking aim at are doing it intentionally.
Oh no!
I just think that
this is the way the culture of it. See, this is the thing that we have a society that is lacking horribly in critical thinking, and in which case you had these 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, you know, and then of course by that point, once it hit the 2000s, this self-help or this stuff, this is the norm. About, you know, if you're not trying to improve yourself, something's wrong. Okay, sort of. You may not be consciously trying to improve yourself, but I don't think we should be shaming anyone for not consciously trying to improve themselves, and they may be doing it in their own way.
Right. Well, what's the end goal here, right? I mean, are we trying to be happy? What's the goal? Are we trying to become more enlightened people? Are we trying to be more well-rounded? Or are we trying to be happy? And the answer is not all of us are going after the same thing.
Well,
so
yeah, you actually triggered something in my head about how if everybody is trying to get better and better and better, who's actually trying to make everyone else better?
Well, that's a fundamental thing. Is I don't necessarily think that's our responsibility.
No, what I mean is just a society, because meaning this, to break it down a little bit more, is that the idea being that we are all, there's supposed to be a byproduct that if we're all working on ourselves,
right?
If we're all working on ourselves and making ourselves better, then it will spill over, and it will help society, because we'll have healed our traumas. Yeah. We'll have, you know, overcome our challenges.
Well, just logically, if everybody is better, then the whole is better.
Correct.
As an individual.
However, the breakdown of that is that, well, some people, maybe we need some people to be concentrating on helping those who may not be able to help themselves as much, or just flat out, I'm good with myself. I'm going to constantly try to keep improving at some point. But the reality is that I am actually rather trying to help others.
Right.
And that's the point. My goal is not to, like, I think Simon Sinek, and I do like him, where he said instead of it should be like self-help, it should be help others, the group. Instead of the self-help in the library or in the bookstore and stuff like that,
right?
It should be help others, because that's what we should really be doing. That's what I try to do with my coaching, consulting, workshops. It's designs that you're thinking about others and at the same time improving yourself.
Right.
And these ones are all about, I mean, it's not selfish per se, but I mean, here's another one.
Oh, wait. Okay. Selfish.
Okay.
Selfish. Oh, are you going to say something? Go ahead.
No,
I was going to say selfish. A lot, like, that's a great way to put it. What you're reading right now, it feels very self-indulgent. It's like that person wrote that stuff not necessarily to help anybody, but it helped themselves, and it helps themselves put it out into the world because they think that they, you know, said something big, and that's good for you. I don't want to tear anybody down, like, and especially because these probably do impact people, and they probably do get something from it, and that's important. And I mean, just because we're being cynical about it doesn't mean that somebody doesn't get something positive.
If it starts somebody on the path, great.
Right. Yeah, it's like, exactly. And if at the end of the day, if there's a net positive from it, then there's a net positive from it. We're obviously doing this, but, like, I mean, there's goods in everything, but yeah, it just feels self-indulgent. Like, it doesn't feel like the intention was really to it seems like that's the afterthought, is, oh, this will help somebody. That's the afterthought.
Yeah, and I agree. It's just the simplicity of some of these things. It helps people. It does. It's necessary. It's needed. But I think, this is, if we don't start holding ourselves and then start holding others to higher standards, it's a downward spiral. Yeah. And I think we're seeing that. It's very evident, because when you hold someone to a standard, then all of a sudden you're a bully, or you don't know what they're going through, or and that's not, holding someone to a certain standards does not mutually exclusive from having empathy and understanding where they're coming from.
Right.
If you understand that there's issues with them, traumas, things of that sort, then yes, that standard gets lower. Mm-hmm. However, when you're dealing with someone who's, for all lack of intent and purposes, is just a normal functioning, average, quote unquote, Yes, hold them to a higher standard.
Yeah.
I think
No, for sure.
John Maxwell said all boats rise with the current, all boats rise with
the tide.
And it's something to that effect, in that sense, where you've got to be able to think beyond that. Here's another one. Challenges are what make life interesting. Overcoming them is what makes it meaningful. See, that one?
I don't know if I necessarily...
I'm not saying I disagree or agree with it. This was another one, though, that it had a lot into it. Challenges are what make life interesting. Overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. Okay.
I think that it's not necessary. Yeah, I think it really depends on what people define as a challenge and what people define as overcoming it, though. It's kind of a...
Well, that was the point. It's not just challenges are what make life interesting. It's not just challenges. Challenges are one aspect of what makes life interesting. And you're right. Are you challenging myself? Is it a challenge in the workplace? Is it because you have challenging children that you're raising?
Right.
Well,
I can tell you, I've never found me being challenged in the workplace as interesting. Like, that's not the word I would use to...
No, but the idea behind it with this person who created this, was that you're supposed to be able to find growth in it. Like, if you overcome a challenge, like if there was a challenge, difficult relationship with a boss, and you can overcome it, figure out a compromise or whatever, then all of a sudden it's more meaningful. Which the second part is also actually somewhat a false equivalency, I guess. Well, maybe that's probably not the right word or the right analogy, but it doesn't, just because you overcome a challenge doesn't mean it was meaningful.
No, that's 100% true. I don't think that necessarily all of our... Yeah, I don't think that there's always a lesson to be learned in something. And I feel like it's kind of something that as humans we say, there's a lesson to be learned in everything. It's like a comforting thing because that means that our experience is somehow, every single experience has a meaning.
Well, I think it's a scale. I think I would go with it's a scale because I do think there's something to be learned, but it could be very small. It could be inconsequential.
True.
It could actually just be a reinforcement of something you already knew.
Right, but even some life lessons that we think, like, let's say we go through this experience and we get this life lesson from it. Our life lesson could be wrong. We could learn the wrong thing based off of a certain situation.
Yeah, but I think that would be subjective. Like, what you thought was right, someone else thought was wrong. How do you know? Who's going to say it's wrong or right?
True, but
that's what I'm saying is, like, if you learned a life lesson...
Well, the implication of all of these quotes is that there's some truth to existence in life. And that there's some, like, that all of these point towards the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. However, the irony in that, and most of these people that create these would probably point out that everybody has their own truth. So how are we existing within this, like... vacuum of reach.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the simplicity of it that bugs me about it. Is that, again, there's one that says, it's not your status, money, or objects that impress me. It's how well you treat others, something to that effect. And I'm like,
that's a lie, though. We know that people want to think that, but a lot don't.
Well, and right off the bat, though, I'm like, why can't it be both? Just because the quote was basically your money, wealth, status, and things don't impress me. What impresses me is how you treat other people. And I'm like, I'm kind of like, why can't it be both? Why are we saying that? Why is it there's not mutually exclusive? Someone can have, I can actually be impressed by someone who's lots of money, and because I'm assuming that they had to do something decent or good to get there. It could be family money, whatever, someone along the family. But the social status, those things to get to a top of something takes something that I should probably be impressed upon. But if they treat people badly, no, I'm not going to be impressed with it because they treat people badly.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that quote's necessarily like mutually exclusive, though.
Right, but they're not. You can be wealthy. You can be wealthy and have social status and have all the toys in the world and stuff, and still treat people really well.
It's true.
You know what I mean? But it's like the quote that goes around is like it's one or the other. It's like you can't. I'm not impressed by your social status. I'm impressed only with the way you treat people.
Right.
Okay. Well, if you have to pick, sure. I'm only going to be impressed with the way you treat people if I have to choose the two. But that's the problem. We should not be putting it out there that you have to choose between the two.
Right.
Why can't you be like...
I've never felt like I had to choose. I don't feel like when I read that quote or see those quotes that I feel like I have to choose between the two. It's just like...
it says it within it. It's like, I'm not impressed by. I mean, so it literally says, like, if you have lots of money and everything, you know, that I guess it could be nuanced a little bit,
but by itself though, if the only thing I know about you, like, I haven't met you, I don't know these celebrities or anything like that. Like,
how they
the
treat
only
people?
thing I know, exactly.
You don't know how they treat people,
right? So the only thing I know about them is, oh, they're rich and they have a celebrity status. Yeah, that doesn't impress me. That's true. Like, that's...
Well, see, that's the thing. It depends on, like, if they have it depends on how they got it, because see, there's an underlying thing of it. If it's, you don't know how they treat people, okay, so that's fine. But if the person is the best at their field, let's just say it's a nuclear scientist, right?
Yeah, but that's not necessarily a celebrity, though. That would be different, because chances are, no offense to that person,
even as a celebrity, depending on how they got it. I mean, actually, you could take the Kardashians, for example, and how they started, and so on and so forth. There is, you whether you like them or not, whether you agree how they got started, all that stuff, you cannot take away the fact that Mama, I forgot, Kris
Jenner.
Yeah. You know, you can't take away the fact that they created a multi-million dollar, maybe multi-billion, if they're all
at
least
together.
all of them, and stuff, and go, and to me, I don't have to like, I can be impressed but not like them. I mean, I'm not saying I do or don't, but I can actually go, damn, she was smart. She took what she had and she ran with it.
That's true, but their personal lives are very much in the public sphere. We know more about them.
Well,
I'm talking about somebody like more elusive. Like,
same thing. I don't even same thing. Their celebrity, they did something along the way. And again, I qualify this because depending on, you know, difference between notorious and famous, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So depending on what they did, but to be notable, like, you know, have celebrity status and such, they probably did something along the way better than someone else did. And okay, I can give them credit for that. I can be impressed by the fact that they did something better along the way. It may have been maybe very opportunistic and stuff, and then that's why I say, but I'm going to reserve my full judgment or my reserve impression until I know a little more. But I'm not going to just say, you know, that I'm not going to say that, oh, you have lots of, like what you said, where just because you have lots of money, no, not just because you have it, am I going to necessarily be impressed. I'm going to think about it and go, well, okay, they were able to create XYZ or something like that. That was impressive.
Right.
And essentially the only thing I have to go on is because they made a lot of money or they have a lot of toys or whatever the case is. So that's all. That because you're right. I've been around nice cars. I've been in my past life, the car business and all that stuff. No. Seeing $150,000, $250,000 car, it's cool. I like it. But it doesn't particularly impress me anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's not, now that's an item, of course, as opposed to a person. But
it's an interesting discussion, though. Can't we treat humans like items? Are humans really items?
Oh, here's one. 3 words: decide, commit, succeed.
I legit thought that the only word in that was going to be decide. When you took your pause, you said 3 words and then the 1 word, and I was like, oh, that's funny. But then it wasn't.
Decide, commit, succeed. It's that easy, Austin. All you gotta do is decide, commit, and succeed. There is nothing more to it than that. Look, you don't need to reevaluate plans. You don't need to make sure that you're doing productivity versus just activity. There's nothing else left. You know what? Just decide it, commit to it, and you'll be a success.
All right, look, here, I got this. I'm deciding that I'm going to walk out that door. I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to walk out that door. I am going to make $1 million. That's my decision. As soon as I walk out, I'm deciding to get given, have given to me $1 million when I walk out that door. I'm going to commit to me walking out that door.
Yeah.
And I will be successful.
You see, this is a simplicity of, like, and all those people that are yelling at us right now, you know, the 5 of you that listen, you know that you basically are sitting there going, but that's not the point. That's not the point. You got to start somewhere. Yes, you do. So if you're telling someone that these are the 3 steps, if that's your plan, these are the 3 steps: decide, commit. Actually, it's only 2 steps. It's actually 2 steps.
And then one
decide,
of them's the final outcome.
Commit, and then that is not going to help anyone. You can actually tell someone, hey, you know what? This is the starting point. We need to decide what you want to do. You need to be clear on it. And then, of course, you have to figure out all the steps that to do that.
No, but don't forget commit.
Yeah, well, and then the committing part. Are you committed to doing all of those steps? I am committed.
No,
okay.
none of that. It doesn't matter, Dad. Commit.
No, just commit. Well, and exactly. See, I wasn't even thinking that way. I'm like, okay, you have to commit to doing all the little steps in between.
You're overthinking it.
Commit. Again, this is the simplicity that I think people, and then all of a sudden people wonder, how come it didn't work? Or they get frustrated. Or
because they didn't commit.
yeah, that's what the coach would say. That's what the coach would say. Hey, you didn't commit hard enough. Does this sound a little bit like hold on, like if you said, well, we're gonna get in trouble with this one, but I'm gonna bring it up. God didn't want it. It wasn't his plan.
He didn't want it.
He did not want me to score that touchdown. And I just, that one is another one. It's not actually about religion at all. I have no problems with the religion. But when people come up there and they give all glory and credit to it, and then when it doesn't work out, I guess it just didn't work out. Look, that's basically taking all of the personal responsibility. And then I'm going to get off of that one because that's really not part of this. But that's what this is. This is like that aspect of decide, commit, succeed.
I hear you. I just don't think you're committing.
God. This is going to be a running thing for the rest of them?
Just commit. Like, I don't even know what more we need to say about that. If you just commit.
Just commit.
Just commit. Do you hear that, guys? If the only thing you take away from this today is just commit.
Okay, I'm going through the list here.
Can we rank? Wait, let's rank. What is more important, the decision or the commitment? Because for me, it's got to be the commitment. I'm going commit and then decide.
You're having way too much fun with this.
I don't even remember what the final outcome was. What was it? Succeed?
Yeah. Decide, commit, succeed.
Well, obviously succeed is number one. You know what? I'm just going to have to flip the whole...
Oh my God, I'm moving on.
Yep.
You've lost it.
Commit.
Okay, here's one. Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose.
Okay, whose is it to recover? That implies that somebody will recover yesterday. Who is recovering yesterday? God?
And this one's yesterday is not yours to... yesterday is not ours to recover. Yesterday is not ours to recover. Same thing. I mean, your point applies
right.
Still. But then again, wait, how are you supposed to learn from your past mistakes? Because this is implying... Oh, here's a good one.
Is yesterday a fumble?
We'll hold this one. We'll hold off on this one. Don't look back. The future is ahead of you.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we talked about that one before.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
wait. I'm sorry. How do you learn from your mistakes? I mean, how if you don't look back? Now, you don't dwell on the past. You don't necessarily let it control you.
I'd like to break down this quote, though. Read it one more time.
Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose.
So are we looking at time like a football? So, like, we fumble yesterday. Is the other team recovering it? Are we playing against somebody?
Well, you know what? This actually, I'm bringing up Simon Sinek again, but the finite game, you talk about game,
yeah.
The infinite game versus finite game, where growth mindset versus fixed mindset, about this implies that the tomorrow is ours to win or lose. So if I lose, what then? Do I need to look back at the past to figure out what not to do the next time?
Yeah, you would watch game tapes.
This whole thing is just ridiculous.
I'm developing, though, this interesting idea about time being a football in my head. Christopher Nolan, I have a script idea. You should hit me up because I think I've got this figured out.
Here's a good one for you. Motivation. Set goals, say prayers, work hard.
This one's dangerous territory.
We can move on because it falls into the line with all these other ones. It's like the simplicity of these things. Okay, I get it. It's motivational quotes. It's supposed to spur you on. But maybe we just need to get to a level of maybe of society, or just a majority of society, that these simple motivational quotes are not what is needed in order to push us further. We need more. We need something deeper. I think that's maybe comes back to what you said
maybe
at the very beginning.
Maybe we need more. Maybe not everybody. Everybody has their own sort of spark, though.
Here's one. Good things take time. Really?
I don't know. I've done a few good things in a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah, I've heard.
I hope not. That would be strange.
It would be strange, but you know, life is strange. Each person must live their life as a model for others. No pressure. You have to live your life as a model for others. No, that's another one. On the surface, that sounds really good. And essentially, it's saying be a good person so that other people can see the good. Okay.
That's assuming that everybody's looking for the same things in a person, though. Like, I might have... And it's equating all traits as equal.
I was about to say truth.
Which is not true, because I could be very good at something that helps me in a certain field, but that thing that I'm good at might not be good for this other person. So this person trying to pursue their own field is then like, oh, well, I see that. And they take that as like, oh, well, that's a good role model. Not necessarily. I can be a good person. They could be a good person. They might not... Or maybe they shouldn't look up to me because we're trying to do two different things.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if
it's one of those ones where the essence of it is, look, just be a nice person. I mean, nice is pretty universal. Don't harm. It comes down to, well, okay, if you cannot help that person because maybe you don't know how to help them, or maybe their help is beyond your reach, or their help, what they want as help is different than what you can provide or understand, or whatever the case is, that's fine. But there is something you can do, and we can all do across the board, is that we cannot make a situation worse. We can be conscious to try to not make a situation worse.
Right.
Don't force something. Understand that. And that may be the model is, just don't do stuff that's going to hurt other people. Don't do stuff that's going to make a situation worse than it already is. You maybe think you're helping by doing whatever you're doing, but you better think about it. Critically think about, is it really helping them, or is it making me feel good?
Right.
To be saying that I'm helping them.
Yeah.
This one actually, I like most of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Most of his stuff is pretty good.
Take 3.
I know. This one, what we fear of doing most is usually what we most need to do.
No. Because I'm really afraid of snakes, yet I don't think I have to pick one up.
Yeah, and again, it's a simplicity of, if you're scared of it, then that's something you need to overcome.
Okay, but why?
Right, exactly. Now, is it okay? Now, here, this is a perfect example, and we'll probably end on this one. Is like, you're afraid of snakes, or you don't like snakes. You're fearful of snakes. That's fine. Okay, right? You see a kid who's tangled up in a snake. I know you. You'll overcome that fear. Don't joke around with this one, because I already know you're going to. But I know you. You'll actually overcome your fear to do something in order to help that kid, as it should be. But your fear of snakes, though, without the impetus, why do you need to get over your fear of snakes?
Right. I mean, in that situation and being in a serious way, it has like almost nothing to do with the snake, though. It has everything to do with the kid being in trouble. So it's not even me facing my fear of snakes.
But it's part of it, the process. Facing your fear of snakes is part of that process to help the kid.
Yeah, I guess so.
But that's what I mean, though, is that but in and of itself, you can't just say to someone, what do you fear most? And if they say, like, fear of rejection, okay, then that may be something that you need to...
you do need to...
Right, because of the fact that is something that is... Well, just like if you came across a kid, tangled up in a snake, same thing.
I hope that kid doesn't have a fear of rejection, because that will reject saving him, and the kid's getting eaten by a snake.
So the fear of rejection, though, is something that is almost probably ever present, and it may actually dictate your life. Yes, that's something that you should probably address, because it has an impact probably daily in your life.
Right.
But if you have the fear of clowns, I don't know if you need to overcome that. If that's something that's really going to be worth, So but
I don't know. Maybe
it just depends on the level of that fear, I guess, and how much it's actually affecting your life. But the simplicity of just that statement makes it. There's no context to it, and
that's a good way to wrap it up. Is there's no context. Okay, none of these sayings are quote unquote bad.
Correct.
Like they all
or wrong.
Right, or wrong, but there's no context. So when we're reading them, we have to contextualize them ourselves. And some people might do that and some people might not. And that's why all of these, they're almost like a what's it?
Rorschach.
Right, you see what you want to see. Oil blot. Right, and you get what you Rorschach.
There you go.
You see what you want to see in it, and you get what you want to get. So that's probably why all these do so well, because people see in it what they want to see.
Right, and absolutely.
They provide their own context.
And I guess that's the part that frustrates me, because I think there is too much too many people, too much aspect, too much out there that prey on that. That they make it acceptable that you take out the most minimal amount of this, and then they use that and say, you don't need to do any more, and you don't need to be any better. What you've taken out at the simplest level, and that standard is what's hurting us just across the board.
Right.
Because we're not holding, when someone sees that and they get that first step and they're like, this really resonated with me, great. What are you going to do about it now?
And I think it's even more disingenuous than that. I think there are people that prey on it, and they're saying this whole like, oh, well, you know, you're doing what you got to do, blah, blah, blah. But they know that they're not, and they don't really want them to do better, because then they're going to stop going to their page. They're going to stop doing all this stuff.
That's why there's a huge industry. You're right.
Right. And so I don't think that any of these, or not any, but I think there's quite a few people that don't really want or care if anybody actually gets anything from it. And the easiest way to do that is to offer up simple platitudes.
Yeah, it's very, very true. Very true. So, all right, we're going to wrap that up. So, in the most ironic thing I could possibly do, think more, care more, live more, and remember, you can change your life. We can change the world one decision at a time. That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
Okay, all right.
We didn't plan it.
So, we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.